Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Edna White. I am your host for Keeping It Real on Purpose. And today we have none other than Regina Lawless, who is an author. And I believe she's kind of like an entrepreneur because you have to be an entrepreneur when you're an author because you got to make that money. So she's going to talk to us today about her book, Do You. Because see, when you're doing you, you're doing business. Welcome to the show, Regina Lawless.
I love it. Thank you, Edna. Thank you so much for having me.
I am excited to have you here because I love all the colors on your book. I love it
Thank
all, and it gets me energized. Tell us how you show up in the world as an author.
Great question. So, how I show up as an author is through love. I feel like that's how I try to show up as a human being, is
Okay.
to be a light for people and to share how I have come to be more of a force for love and goodness in the world. And that's having gone through a lot in my life. So I didn't arrive at kind of being this state of love overnight. Although I believe we all start with that as children, but life kind of weathers us, right? Like
Yes.
we go through some
Yes.
things. And for me, I ended up, suffering the loss of my husband, which I write about in the book. But that also for me has brought me back to love, and trying to honor that love, which grief is really about anyways, is really
Hmm.
the honoring the love that you had for that person. And that's how I want this book to show up and be a beacon for love and for hope.
Okay. So you talk. I really want to now. I want to get into this now because you talk about grief being that I guess the gatekeeper of love. Talk to us about how you kind of process that to move it forward.
Yeah, so it was heavy. It was heavy. If for your listeners, if they've ever lost someone close to them, they understand how difficult, and difficult is an understatement. For me,
Right.
I was married to my husband for almost 18 years. We were together for 21 years. So I
Okay.
met him when I was 18. So my entire adult life, I had been with this man and we had built a life together. We have a son together. And so when I lost him, the first thing that I had to deal with before even the grief was the shock. My husband
Yeah.
was 45 when he passed away.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah, so I was 40, he was 45. He died of a heart attack. So that sudden loss, I had to even wrap my mind around that.
Yeah.
And I was having panic attacks in the first, days and weeks after he had passed on. And then the just depression set in, just the sadness, the confusion, the anger, the longing. Right? Like every day
Right.
I was like longing for him to walk back through the door, to the
Right.
point of like delusion. Like you have to kind of
Hmm.
like reckon
Yep.
with yourself, right? Like this
Right.
person is gone, and it takes time to accept that in your mind so that you can move forward. Um,
Right.
so so after I got through those initial weeks of just trying to make sense of things, I sought therapy, which I know you are a
Yeah.
proponent of and talk about.
Yes,
Um,
girl.
Girl, I'm
Yes.
telling you, I had to and thankfully I had a fantastic Black woman therapist,
Hmm.
and she did what's called EMDR.
Hmm.
I'm saying that right?
Yeah,
EMDR.
you're right. You're
Thank you
right.
for all the
Yes.
therapists listening.
Hmm.
Um, and that really, when I tell you, Edna, that really started to shift me in my grief by
Right.
being able to reprocess those memories.
Right.
And that, like, I was ruminating on the day leading up to his passing.
Yeah.
Could I have done more? I should have saved him. What could have been done? That was playing over and over in my head on a
Yeah.
loop. And
Yeah.
so she helped me to get over that. And then we, of course, went deeper in healing the grief from there.
Yeah. That's great. Two things you said. One was the longing. I don't think people deal with the the longing, because I didn't have a spouse pass away, but my brother, who was like really close to me, was like my best friend, solid friend. He died really early, right? The day of his graduation, he died, and
Oh, I'm so
that was like
sorry.
the total shock. It was like, what? Nobody, this doesn't happen. It's not normal,
Right.
and the longing just to want to see him come back to the door. And you said, the second thing you said, that you kept repeating the days before. And you know what you made me think of is the scripture that says, a reprobated mind. And reprobate is nothing but when you put yourself on repeat, repeat,
Mm,
repeat. And then you get into a state of depression, like you said, it just because you're always trying. I coulda, shoulda, woulda, and
yes.
this isn't that what gets us in trouble a lot in our
Oh,
own lives when we do things in a normal basis. Coulda, shoulda, woulda always gets us stuck there. Like, oh God, we always keep doing that. So
yes.
that's important. That therapy right there. Share with my audience, because I know they hear me all the time. Now they need to hear somebody, who's professional as well. Talk about like getting away from that, because that keeps you stuck. Talk about repeating things over and over.
Yeah, for me, it started to how I started to get myself out of it was writing. So I've
Oh,
always
that's
been
good.
a journaler. And so I started literally the day after he
Hmm.
passed, I started writing notes to myself. I would just grab a little
Okay.
notepad by my bed. And
Okay.
then I started to actually, it was easier for me to do it on my iPhone. So I would open up the notes app and I would just pour
Uh-huh.
out like how I was feeling. I miss you. Like for more than a year, I wrote notes to my, deceased husband because it made me feel still connected to him, but I had a
Hmm.
safe place to then say the things that those questions that kept going through my head, or that sorrow that I wish I would have gotten you to the hospital sooner. I'm sorry. And then therapy. So between like pouring it out in notes and then talking to my therapist and unpacking with her
Right.
and her helping me to see like, love, you couldn't have done anything differently. What really resonated for me when she told me, like, I did the best that I could. I did what I
Hmm.
knew how. And that took a lot of weight off of me because I was
Okay.
acting as if I was a medical doctor and should have known the signs of heart attack and like, like right, like I didn't go to medical school. So how would I know? But I had put so much weight on myself. Like if I should have like weeks before, and
Right.
anybody who is with a Black man for long enough, that's like pulling teeth anyways to get them to go to the hospital
Yes.
or to the doctor.
Yes.
So
Just to get weighed.
just to get
They're having a whole hissy fit. Come on.
exactly, just to get weighed, just to take the medicine they know they're supposed to take.
Yes.
You diabetic. Stop playing. You're not supposed to be eating that ice cream. So
Please. Please.
so I had to separate my personal accountability from
Gotcha.
what
That's
was
good.
God's plan and the creator's
That's good.
plan, but
Right.
also the doctor. He had a doctor. The doctor had some culpability. The
Yeah.
emergency room staff had some
Yeah.
culpability. And finally, my husband had some responsibility for his own health in his own life.
Oh, this is great. This is so good. Oh my goodness, Regina, please. Audience, you guys got to hear what she's saying. See how she broke it down? That was beautiful, because we don't give everybody their culpability. We don't give everybody their part. We don't, and that's so good. That's so good. Continue. I had to say that.
Yeah,
Continue.
thank you. Thank you. But I think that's how people get stuck in their grief, because you're carrying
Yeah.
not only the sadness, you're carrying the sadness and the longing for the person, but you're
Yes.
almost always thinking of what you could have done to prevent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And sometimes there is nothing. I had to really grapple with that because,
Yeah.
I grew up in church, and I also grew up my parents really instilled in me a work ethic. And
Yeah.
I thought that, oh, if I just work hard enough, if I'm a good
Yeah.
girl, if I'm nice to people, and I
Mm-hmm.
write about this in the book, that I felt that I did all the things, checked all the boxes, that nothing bad would happen to me. And baby, when I got the
Wake
awakening,
up.
like bad things
No.
happen to good
Yeah.
people, bad things happen to
Yeah.
anybody. And
Yes, anybody. That's
and
right.
yeah, and you can't
No
control everything.
favoritism. You don't get points for that. No points.
And no gold stars, no extra credit.
None of that. None of it. It's
so
true.
so that was literally shocking to me. I had to really
Mm-hmm.
accept that, like, wait a minute, I can't outwork tragedy. I can't
No.
outpray it. I can't
No.
outlive it.
That's
Um,
beautiful.
yeah, so that was a really powerful
That's
awakening
beautiful.
that I had through my grief. And I'm thankful for that, because now I
Yeah.
can be at more peace in my life.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's you're giving me I'm getting like goosebumps. This is exactly from me. This is from me. I know it is. Audience, you guys better pick it up, put it down. She's doing it right now. And you have to listen to this because we want to be better, and if somebody's got some jewels to give to us to instruct us, Regina's here for that, and I'm loving everything you're saying. I'm loving
Thank you.
everything you're saying. Now, do you, how did that happen? Where did that come
Ooh.
from? Do you?
Okay, well, at the risk of being a little bit of a spoiler, I hope y'all will still read the book, because it's good. It's got some goodness.
Okay.
But Do You actually came from my husband Al.
Okay.
So before he, departed this realm, as I like to say,
Mm-hmm.
he had left me a text message. And if you read the book, you'll see I didn't discover the text message until a year or so later. But something,
Wow.
yeah, something prompted me. I was actually, it kind of goes back to that longing and that missing of your loved one. I got
Mm-hmm.
into this space where I was like, ooh, it had been long enough, and I wanted to make sure I still had record of him. I was like, let me
Yeah.
find every picture. Let me find every
Right. Right.
voicemail. I was trying to like make almost a capsule for myself and
Yeah.
for my son of,
Yeah.
of his memory. And so something kind of whispered to me, check your text messages to see
Mhm.
what the last text message is so you can capture that. And sure enough, his last text to me said, "Do you, babe, don't worry about anything else."
Wow. Wow, that was definitely that was a universal pull. That definitely was there. That's beautiful. That's really beautiful.
I believe that
Yeah.
wholeheartedly. And I got it tattooed on my left forearm because I
Yes.
wanted to always remember that.
Yes. That's good. That's good. So you know what I want to talk about now. I know you don't know, but audience, my audience always is asking me, how do you transition? They always talk about relationships, right? So you're talking about your husband, and I don't know how long ago he's passed, but could you give us some tips on how, now that you're going to you've taken on counseling, you know how to use your tools. How do you transition now into loving someone else, or is there steps to kind of let you taking on, moving on to the next relationship?
Ooh, okay. I love this question. This is where it gets juicy in the book too. Um,
Oh, it's in the book. See. No, I want to know. Now I want to know.
so
I
yes,
want to know.
I told you that I was with my husband for 21 years. So that he is
Yes.
literally the only man that I knew. And it's funny, he and I I mean, we grew up together. We'd become best friends. And
Right.
but we were also opposites attract. So, so,
Okay,
so there
good.
was, yeah, so we had different ways of seeing the world, different ways of operating in the
Mhm.
world. But that was all I knew. And so about 8 months after he had passed, so keep in
Mhm.
mind, that I had gone through not only individual therapy, but I had gone through, a grief group therapy as well.
Great. Yeah,
So
that's great.
I'm a chronic overachiever, so I'm not doing just one thing, I'm doing all the things. So it's like, check, grief group, grief writing,
That's right.
books,
Yeah.
praying, meditating. Going through, I'm doing the
Do
whole
it all.
package.
Cover all the bases.
I'm doing the premium grief package. Uh,
Yes.
so but I say that because I had accelerated my healing that way to be able to receive someone new. So,
Yes.
about 8 months after my husband passed, I wasn't thinking I was gonna meet someone new. I just wanted to have some companionship again. I wanted to really just date. I wanted to go out there and just start to meet people, start to have fun again.
Right.
And I had told my therapist that, and I instantly felt guilty. I felt like I was
Wow.
cheating on my husband. I felt like
Mhm.
people would judge me, like, how dare you, start dating again? It's been less than a year.
Right.
All the things that we worry about, we
Right.
when we don't put ourselves first, we worry about all the things
Right.
people will say. So
Right.
she helped me, my therapist helped me to understand that it's normal to want connection again. And
Right.
she asked me, and I write about this as well in the book. She asked me one question that helped me. She said, "What would Al want for you?" And
Oh, that's good.
I
That's
teared
good.
up and I immediately said, "He would want me to be happy again." Like, he
Mm.
literally has said that to me. If anything happens to me, I want you to find love again. And
Yeah.
so with that, it just all it's all serendipitous. I ended up going out with some friends of mine, friends from high school. We had kind of stayed in touch loosely over the years, but they
Yeah.
came back into my life to support me after the loss. And
Mhm.
we went out for drinks one night, and my girlfriend, she had met a guy online. She wanted to bring him out with us, and we're like, he can come if he has some friends. So, and he had friends, and
Oh,
me, one of
goodness.
the friends, like, it was on and popping. Like, so we met, kind of in this serendipitous way, me and the friend, and he and I are together to this day.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, you're giving some of us really some hope, and really making it clear, and that we can really move on from this because
Yes.
we've seen some people, even some of my clients are stuck right there, and I was like, you're still holding on to this, it's like having your hand grabbing onto this and trying to reach over here, and you can't do it.
Yep.
You just can't do it. So you have to, like you said, you wanted to accelerate your the way that you're going to greet someone else in your life. You wanted to accelerate your love. You really did. So you did the work, and that's what it takes. Is letting sometimes you don't want to let go, and I've seen this even with men. They don't want to. They say, "Oh, I feel guilty," and they don't think that's part of the grief. And I just said this today, we don't feel our emotions enough. And I'm so glad you talked
Mhm.
about every emotion. You covered every emotion.
I had them all
We're
and then
supposed
some.
to feel it. Yeah, and we're supposed to feel them. That's the thing is, we're supposed to feel them. And when we do suppress them, what happens is we get really depressed. Suppression creates depression.
So
It just
true.
does it, right? Right?
So true. And for me, and I think I'm sure a lot of your listeners can relate to this, growing up as a Black woman in this country, or Black people in general, but
Yes.
certainly as Black women, we are taught to be strong all the time,
Yes.
no matter what. And so I have one of the
Good one.
chapters in the book. Yeah, I titled one of the chapters "Strong Black Woman" because I came into my grief initially trying to be strong. I didn't even know how to feel. Like I
Yeah.
had not allowed myself to feel the depths of my feelings since I
Yeah.
was a little girl. You know,
Wow.
right? Because you get raised
Yes.
for me, I was raised by my parents to like, nope, keep going, suck it up, life is hard. And then
Yeah. Yeah. Then
society,
you die. That's what they
right? And
tell
then you
you.
die,
Life is
right?
hard. Then you die.
Hey, come on, Black
Nothing in
people.
between. Nothing in between. Just die. Just say it. You know?
And we know that comes from a place of trauma, that comes from a place of
Yes.
striving because we haven't always
Yes.
had. So,
Yeah.
but for me, the unintended consequences is that forced me to like comport myself in a way where I couldn't be vulnerable. Like,
Yeah.
I was working in corporate America for almost 20 years. I couldn't show
Ooh,
any weakness. I couldn't
no.
show any,
Mm-mm.
like, you better believe I had
No.
to lock it up and keep it together
Suck it
and
up.
suck it up and be prepared. I remember one
Yes.
time, I don't write this in the book, but one time we were going through financial hardships and our car
Yeah.
was getting repossessed. I couldn't tell
Mhm.
anybody at work that we were going through that kind of stuff. You better believe I showed up anyways. And on the inside, I was like, is my car gonna come back? Like, and we gonna get it from the tow yard. Um,
Yeah.
but I say all that to say that that is what I came into my grief with
Yeah.
this. Okay, I have to be strong. But being
Mhm.
off, I ended up taking 3 months off of work. And just with that, I had no choice but to look at myself and feel
Mhm.
it and deal with it, especially in
Right.
therapy. You can't
Oh,
run
yeah.
from your emotions
No.
in
No.
therapy, not if you're
No.
doing it right.
No.
So,
Mm-mm. And that's it. Not if, and you got to be participating. You got to
yes.
be willing to participate. And it's all the therapist does nothing but listen, and maybe
Hmm.
give you one or two directions, and tell you you have the capability to do this because you have this. It's really listening, and I like how you could talk and don't care about anybody else. It's like I don't even ask her how she's doing. I'm like, I don't care. Right now, I don't care. It's all about me. When I'm in
Exactly.
therapy, it's all about me and what I'm going through, what I'm feeling, what I'm trying to accomplish. It's all about me. And that's what I love about therapy. I love it because I still go. I still go because, us working with clients, you know how that is. Working with clients and they might trigger you. Healing is just that. It's not healed, it's healing, and
Yeah.
it's a process. It's a whole process.
I
Okay,
love
it's a
that. I
process.
love that. It's so true. It's ongoing process.
Yeah, it is. It's like we're like onions, and there's these inside of the onion. There's these little small sweet ones that the French love to eat. They're real small, but we grow them out really big. Now think of us peeling off all those things over the years after the sweet stuff is there, right? We have to peel it off. And as we peel, we cry and we feel emotions, and we go through things, we act up, we show out, all of that. We need to get to that place that we can accept that this happens and it's
Mhm.
okay. It's okay. The best thing that ever happened to me during therapy is to know that it was okay for me to feel like this. It was okay
Yes.
because I'm
Yes.
thinking I was broken, messed up, I was not capable, and he's like, it's okay to feel like that. When that hit me, it was like, what? I'm entitled
Right.
to feel this way. I couldn't believe. No, I mean, really, the strong woman and the good girl syndrome had me. That those two
Yes.
syndromes had me. Those two syndromes had me,
Mm.
and I was like, wait, what? I can be miserable like this? Yeah. But she said, but you can't stay that way. You can't stay that way.
That's the key. That's the
Always
key.
cry. She said, oh, you can cry, but with a plan. With a motive, with a solution. What's the solution? You can cry. I told somebody today, go ahead and cry. Get it all out. Now, once you finish crying, tell me what you're gonna do about it.
Mm.
What you gonna do about it?
I love that. First of all, I love the onion analogy. I've never heard it
Yeah,
said like that before, and that's beautiful. So, first of
yeah.
all, um, and that's a sweet onion on the inside.
Inside, the French eat it all the time. They're so little and cute. They cook them all whole, and it's so. And I mean, it doesn't even taste nothing like an onion. And I really tell you, I've tried. I was like, this doesn't taste like no onion. Well, and I'm like, they said it's the inside of the onion. It's a very tiny part of it. I was like, oh, okay.
Mm.
So yeah,
That's beautiful. And the feeling is right. Like I love how you describe the good girl syndrome, because right, you feel like you don't even have the permission to be upset with anyone. You don't have the permission to have
no,
expectations of other people.
no,
You're supposed to just carry the weight of the world. Like I felt like I just had to take on everybody's emotion, and especially
yeah,
me. I am an empath, so I can sense people's emotions and energies
oh yeah,
really
oh
strongly.
yeah,
And
oh
so I
yeah,
would take all that on and think I had to carry it and not honor my own feelings and my own
yeah.
wants and desires.
That's right.
And that's so much of what Do You is about too. Through this
Yeah.
book, I start to learn, like, wait a minute, I have not only agency to live my life however I want,
Mhm.
and I can feel how I want to feel. I can
Right,
enjoy life. I don't have to suffer.
right.
And so but I discovered that through this journey of just trying new things and seeing
Mhm,
how I
mhm.
felt, seeing if I liked
Right,
it, see if
right,
I traveled a
right.
lot, I cried a lot, I did a lot, and
Did a lot. We did a lot.
did a lot, and I learned how to do me.
Yeah,
So that's really
yeah,
the other gift I want to offer
yeah,
people, is that life is a lot about trial and error, and
yeah.
at the end of the day, what you choose to do when you get knocked on the ground.
Right, right. And doing you, as you were talking about this and how your husband even knew that you should be doing you. He
Mhm.
knew you should. He knew it. So he was the outside looking in at you and saying, "She's got to do her.
Yeah.
She's got to do it." So even he knew it, and that just puts me in the mindset that people know that you're different. Like, and I was telling someone today, I could be in a room. We all could be in a room of coaches, authors, whoever they want to be. But guess what? Somebody can have the same title as you, same book title as you. Do you? But ain't nobody doing it better you than me.
Right.
Nobody's doing it better than you. Nobody's doing it better than you. So you know what I'm saying? So no matter what you say, your book is the same title as mine. I guarantee it isn't. I guarantee you're gonna say either do you or do you. You're gonna put emphasis on once you read my book, it's gonna be do you. Okay.
Exactly, boo.
That's
Like,
that's what's going to bring about because we need to live like you said authentic, and that's what I think your
mhm.
husband was saying to you. Get back to yourself. You got so much to give. You got so much to give in this world. Get back to being you.
Yes, oh my gosh, he absolutely was saying that, and because he knew me like, almost no one else knew me, spending that much
Yeah,
time together, and he knew I had a light and a fire inside of me that I
yeah,
had been, like, dampering
right,
and trying to control and not being authentic.
right,
And
right,
so that when he said that, that's why it was so powerful for
right.
me. And I think it's a powerful message for everybody,
Yeah,
because if we can just get back to that essence of who we are and do that to the fullest, like, so many of our problems would go away.
yeah. Do you think corporate America and its toxicity, emphasize your light going out a little bit?
Absolutely. I think there's a few reasons for that. I think, for one, corporate is all about um, doing things at scale efficiently. Like, you form a
Ooh,
corporation, right? You form
right,
it when you get to that level of having a corporation where you have thousands of people working.
right.
It is about generating a profit as quickly and efficiently as
Mhm.
possible. And
Right.
to do that, you have to have a lot of little cogs in the wheel to make that
Yeah.
happen. You can't have
Yeah.
cogs over here trying to do their
Mm-hmm.
own thing. You need them. It's almost like the military. You need them to fall in line
Online.
and
Yeah.
do what you need them to do to get that outcome, to
Mm-hmm.
get those earnings every quarter, or to get that growth year over year.
Right.
Now, if you're lucky, you work for maybe a smaller company or a more progressive company that understands that the more that you allow people to be their authentic self, you get to that
Right.
outcome
Right.
better,
And
um,
faster.
and faster, right? But a lot, that's not the old school way of corporations. We
Yeah.
come from, it's a
No.
very tops down,
Yeah.
hierarchical, do what you say, do what we say,
Mm-hmm.
put your head
Mm-hmm.
down, butts in
Yep.
seats. We might give you a 3% raise this year, or we might not. Like, so so yes, that forced me to make sure that I was in line, especially as a Black woman trying to climb
Yeah.
the corporate ladder,
Right.
because there were very few Black women leaders, very few Black people, even fewer women in
Mm-hmm.
those
Right.
spaces.
In
And
those spaces.
so,
Yeah.
yeah, so I had to play the game and play along
Mm-hmm.
and conform and do
Sure.
all the things.
Yep. Sounds right.
Yeah. And that takes a toll. That
Yeah,
makes you forget who you really are, as you're trying to code switch and do all the things to
I
fit
can
into
say
that
that.
corporate box. Yeah.
I often think that when we say we wear many hats, but God says that we will have many gifts.
Mm,
And I often think that code switching has to do with the many hats. So I didn't learn this into many, maybe years later. I've been raised in the church as well, and working in the church till about 29, 30 years old. I gave a big chunk of my life to it. And I remember even coding there, like even
mhm.
coding in the church, like emotions could not be displayed,
At all.
unless at all, and you'd have to get that under control. And the only time that you were even emotional is when it had to do with under the spirit of God,
Oh yes, the Holy
and that
Ghost.
is yes, totally under that, and then even when I was, I guess, orchestrating or acting that way, I was like, I'm really upset about this. I'd be like, I'm really telling God that I'm upset about this, but I'm not articulating it. But I'm acting out as a child. Like I'm telling God, like, I'm mad about my marriage not working. I'm so
Mm.
mad and I'm crying, and here I am supposed to be, and I think I can share this with you. And I'm sharing it with my audience. You're supposed to be under the spirit, but in the back of my mind, I'm saying, I'm so mad about A, B, and C. And God, you
Mhm.
need to do something about it. And I'm crying, I'm slobbing, I'm all this stuff. And then after I get up, I wonder now, what next? I
Mm.
never knew what to do next.
Yeah.
So I think coding is across the board everywhere. But until I learned that these are every ability we have is a gift.
Mm.
It's the way we use it. It's
So
the way we
true.
use it.
So true.
So I got rid of coding, got rid of many hats. I don't want to say that no more. I have gifts.
Yes. Ooh. And that's doing you as well when you can figure out what your gifts
Yes.
are and given a
Yes.
space in your life where you can utilize them.
Yeah.
And that's really ultimately why I left corporate. I
Yeah.
don't think corporations are inherently bad. I actually
Yeah.
think that they can be a useful training ground. They
Right.
certainly, if you're intentional, you can go in, get the bag, and parachute out
Absolutely.
like I
Intentional,
did,
girl.
right? You
Int-
got to be intentional.
intentional. That's
Um,
intentional. That's
yes,
right.
yeah,
Part
but
of the
I
plan.
part of the plan. And I had a plan going into, like, even starting the job at Instagram. I knew
Mhm.
that I didn't want to be in corporate for the rest of my life.
Right.
So my plan was for that to be my last role before I stepped out on my own. I
Yes.
didn't know the timing. I certainly couldn't anticipate I didn't know, of course, it was going to happen faster than I thought. And I didn't anticipate my husband
Yes.
passing away.
Right.
But I at least planted that seed in my mind that if I can come and do this
Yeah.
one last rodeo, if you will,
Right.
and
Right.
get this good tech money,
Yes.
you know, then bolster up my savings, make sure I
Yes.
have, the means to send my,
Yes.
my son to college, which thank God I'm able to do. But that gave me the foundation to then step out. And now I feel like all of those gifts, all those latent gifts that I wasn't able to fully use at corporate,
Yes.
I can now apply that to my own business and in my
Yes.
life.
Yes, yes, and that's great. I love that. Now, see, I was going to answer something about business. You already answered the question. I just want to know now. We talk to a lot of thought leaders, and you are one of those. We talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, and you are one of those. And we talk to authors. I want to, just ask you, what's one of the things that made your book like get out there, like in marketing? How did you give us one little tip that got your book out there in front of everyone?
Ooh, great question. So, one of the things that I decided to do was get a publicist that specializes in book promotions. And
Ooh,
a lot of
good.
people don't think about, a lot of people aren't familiar with, or maybe you generally know about PR, but
Right, right,
that's not, accessible to most people. And
right.
I certainly didn't understand that there were publicists that specialize in the book
Yes,
industry. And
yes.
so once I learned that, and that was actually through my book coach. So
Hmm.
another tip that I have is like get the resources that you need to help make your
Yeah,
writing process easier.
right.
I started this book when I was working full time. I was still in my executive role at Meta. I didn't have time to necessarily write a book, but I was convicted. I knew I needed to tell my story. And
Yeah, yeah,
so I found a book coach and she helped me put me on a regimen to get the book written in about 7 months.
yeah.
And through her and her network, I found kind of various publicists and decided to pick one that could help me get my book out and help me to get on podcasts like yours
Gotcha. Hmm.
and get that visibility. Now I realize that that's not accessible to everyone.
Yeah.
However, within whatever your budget or your means, there's an app that I just discovered called Quoted that journalists go on to look for experts and look for stories. So something like
Yes.
that,
Hmm.
if you can't
Yep.
afford a publicist,
Yeah.
get on Quoted and see if you can be, an expert in a journalist story as a way to get
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
message. Use
Absolutely.
LinkedIn. I've been steady dripping content on. So for me, it'll depend what your preferred social media platform is.
Yeah.
I'm in the auntie stage of my life, so I haven't done TikTok. I'm
I
enjoying
love
my
it.
auntie hood.
Hmm.
So I take not to, no shade. TikTok looks fun, but I'm not there yet.
Yeah,
Um,
no.
for me, my tribe is on LinkedIn because I've
Yeah,
been in corporate. I have all the
yeah,
professional connections. So
yeah,
that's a free way to market my book and tell little stories. So that would be the other tip. If a publicist, if you can, or pitch yourself and use social media.
yeah. Would you say that consistency is a part of that?
Oh my
Because to get a
gosh.
publicist, they're consistent.
Yes, and I'm learning to be more consistent with the social media. You would think that coming from Instagram, one of the biggest social media companies in the world, you would think I would be an influencer over here. I'm just as much of a mess on the platform as most other people. So I'm trying like the rest of y'all to get my posts out and schedule them and be consistent. But yeah, that is key. The more
Right,
I post, I see more engagement and I see more
right.
people, um, you know, being touched by the message. So
Yes. Okay, you heard it from Regina Lawless. She is telling us all the business. Okay, she done told us all the business. And we need to be on about our business being ourselves, doing us, doing you. And I really appreciate you. We appreciate every diamond, every ruby, every pearl that you drop, because every bit of it is a way that we're going to grow. And I'm so thankful for you. Thankful for just, you sharing a lot of, because we both grow from what we know. We touch each other's lives. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, and you get touched by something, and you
Yes.
spark. I didn't know that, and you grow just a little bit more. Audience, we hope that you get something out of this. Remember, you got to look up Regina Lawless. She's got an original name. You'll find her. Don't worry, you'll find her. You'll find her. Google her. You know,
Yes.
she's probably on Instagram, but she's not there. She's not there. She's getting there, but she's on LinkedIn.
Yes.
So you'll find her. I know that she's around. Look for her book, Do You. Read it, review it, right? We
Yes.
want those
Please
reviews
review it. Please review it, y'all.
up there. Okay, all right. So thank you so much for being here. And this is Edna White and my esteemed guest, Regina Lawless, saying good night and goodbye. See you later for now.
Bye, y'all.